So I think we can all relate to this, where we have like blind spots in cinema where there are either popular movies or a set of movies of a franchise that we've never seen. Everyone loves it. Everyone talks about it, but we just missed out on it, right? We missed the boat on the hype of the film and just never watched it. Confession time. I have never seen any of the Hunger Game movies. Like, I've seen trailers and clips and I kind of know what they're about, but I've never watched an entire Hunger Games film. So I'm like one of 3 people in the world, right? But that didn't stop me from seeing this prequel. So you're going to have that perspective in today's review. Was it good? Is it worth checking out? Was I able to follow along with the world building, the characters, and the storylines? Do I want to go back and watch the originals? Let's talk about it. What is going on, movie fans, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm sharing with you all my spoiler-free review of the new Hunger Games movie. We're talking about the Hunger Games, the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Very excited to share my thoughts with you all. Again, I have a very interesting perspective of this movie, and I'm very excited to share my thoughts with you all. But first, I want to talk to you in the comments. Let me know if this is a film you all were excited for, and if you're coming from either reading the books or seeing the other movies. But more importantly, once you've seen this prequel, let me know your thoughts, pros, cons, what worked, what didn't work, favorite moments, least favorite moments, thoughts on the story, direction, characters, and do you want to see more from this franchise? Because once you see the film, there are definitely other things they can explore. So let me know all your thoughts on that. And also, if you've seen all the films, unlike myself, how would you rank them after seeing this film? Let me know in the comments below. So like I said, never seen a film. First time watching it. Again, it was nothing about, like, I just missed out on the boat. Like, I was, watching my horror films, sci-fi films. Marvel was just starting up with the MCU, or kind of like in the middle of the MCU. I'm a big DC fan, so I just kind of missed out on the Hunger Games hype. Like, I know it is a beloved franchise, but I just missed it. But I want to start off by saying, man, even though this is brand new to me, I was pretty impressed by this movie. Like, starting off with just like the world building, right? I thought that Francis Lawrence, who's the director of this film, who I believe directed Hunger Games 2, 3, and 4, and I just like him as a director. I Am Legend, Constantine, he's done some other stuff that I liked. I love the world building and how they establish all the stuff going on with society during this time, this dystopian time, and how it kind of has this really interesting mixture of like American Idol meets like Squid Games to me. Like, it's a very interesting layered film. It's also very dark at points. Like, again, not having seen the other films, I don't know how dark those movies go, but I mean, there are kids being killed left and right. I know that's the part of the Hunger Games, but the visceral nature of how these kids are being killed outside of the Hunger Games was very kind of took me back. Like, oh, this is a dark world. So I like how Florence was able to play within those tones of being a YA film, having something to say about the society, and all the stuff that kind of builds his world was very impressive. I also found the writing to be very poignant at points. Again, it has something to say about this world and what it does to these people, and how the Hunger Games kind of represent society in a whole and where they are as a people. I like that kind of layers and depth and the kind of nuance that they're kind of getting at, but also the thing that really shines through to me, not only from a directional writing standpoint, but these performances are really strong. Like, there's no weak link in this cast. I think of Jason Schwartz, who's kind of like a reporter slash host of the Hunger Games. He brings a set of like levity and jokes to the film that I thought kind of fit perfectly and never really threw off the tone. You have characters like Peter Dinklage, who is a co-creator of the Hunger Games. I really like the complexity with his character and how it kind of, there's a dual parallel storyline between him and another character of one of our main characters' fathers, and another friendship. There's a lot going on with Peter Dinklage that I love. Viola Davis, as we know, who I consider to be one of the greatest actors of all time. She plays a villain, and if anyone else would have played her role, it could have came off very cartoonish and goofy because her hair is all crazy, her makeup's all crazy, but she's essentially like the emperor in this situation. She's Palpatine, and she's kind of sinking her teeth into a young Anakin Skywalker who later becomes, Darth Vader with the Snow character in this film. So I was very impressed by Viola Davis, but also I I look at the two leads in the film and the wonderful chemistry they have, starting off with Tom Blyth, who I believe this is his first big breakout role, and he is fantastic. Like, he has a lot of range. He's, sympathetic, you understand him, you root for him, and he's also, like I mentioned with my Emperor comparison, he's kind of the Anakin Skywalker, and we see him become the Darth Vader because, again, for those that have seen the franchise, he is the Snow. He's the big bad, I believe, in the other films. So I really enjoyed what he was able to bring to this role, but I also really love the chemistry that he had with Rachel Zegler, who I know people have their things they say about her with the whole Snow White controversy, which is kind of ridiculous to me. She's a fantastic actress. She unfortunately hasn't been in the best blockbuster result films. Like, I loved her in West Side Story. I thought she was really good in Shazam, but those are just two vehicles that just didn't really put her out there. She's great in this film. Like, she is a great singer, number one, as we know from West Side Story, but I also like the kind of emotional weight and the kind of sensitivity and the vulnerability that she brings to this film, but also kind of the hero nature she has. So combine that with what you got with Tom and also supporting characters, performances, like I said, were just stellar across the board. Also was really engaged going back to the world building of the pacing of how the film, again, for a newcomer, I was able to follow along. Like, yes, there are probably moments I'm like, when people got excited or there was a reference to a name or a reference to an item or an artifact, like people who've seen the films or read the books were like, oh, got excited. And I'm just like, oh, that seems to be something important, but it never took me out. Like, I never was lost in this film. Like, I was able to see this is the world, this is the politics, this is the Hunger Games, why they do the Hunger Games, all the people behind it, how they justify what they're doing, the outsiders, the rebels, the different districts. Like, I was just so impressed by how, as a newcomer, haven't watched the film, haven't read the books, how I was able to follow along and how it kind of puts all the pieces to the puzzle of this big world that they're creating was just so impressive to me. But there are issues that comes with a film that has a part of a franchise, and I do have issues. Number one, as I mentioned, the pacing, the world building, especially the first half and the second half, I'm locked in. I was engaged. I was very invested. And then we switched to this kind of, it's split up in parts. Part one and part two, fantastic. Part 3 is kind of a mixed bag for me, and particularly without spoiling it, obviously. We see the aftermath of a certain event and how they kind of bring those pieces together. Again, the chemistry is great between our two leads, but then there's this subplot involving the rebels and guns and people trying to stick up for other people. That to me was the messiest part of the film and kind of slows down the momentum tremendously. It comes to not necessarily it doesn't completely fall off the rails and the acting's bad, the writing's bad. It wasn't as compelling or as interesting as the other stuff of the film. So this is more of a nitpick, and I know this is in the title, Songbird, but the performance aspects, when we see Rachel Zegler singing in the Hunger Games, promoting herself, that stuff made sense to me. But then when we get, again, the part 3 is the worst part of the film to me. There is just so much singing going on that it kind of takes me out of the film because it feels like they're just putting on a show to kind of have this singer singing for the audience, but it just kind of took me out. Again, it's a little nitpick, and it kind of got redundant at a certain point. But then last point I want to mention, this isn't a spoiler. We obviously know this is kind of the origins of Snow, and the switch of the character to me wasn't executed as good as I wanted to have been, which again falls into that part 3 of it all. Once he makes that switch and something happens, I just wish that it was executed a lot better than what they delivered us to. So, and also I want to mention, because I forgot to mention this earlier in a positive, going back to supporting characters, there's a relationship between Snow, they called her Mama or something. It was his grandmother and his cousin played by Hunter Schafer. I thought Hunter was great in this film. So I wanted to bring that up because I'm a big fan of Hunter and as Jules as Euphoria. I thought she was great in this film. So those are my pros, those are my cons. Before I give you all my overall score, let you know if it's worth checking out. If you stuck around to this point in the video, I want to thank you all. If you haven't already, consider hitting the like button, sharing your thoughts in the comments, as well as potentially sharing this video, but also consider subscribing to the channel. Overall, The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes was my first time watching one of these movies, and like I said up top, I was very impressed. I was invested in the world building, the characters, the stories, and I found all the performances to be very compelling. Fantastic chemistry between our two leads, and I really enjoyed the supporting cast from Peter Dinklage to Hunter Schafer to Viola Davis, who I thought was an excellent villain. And like I mentioned, it does lose some momentum at that certain point in the film, and there's some elements that weren't fully fully realize. But overall, I gotta say, I was very impressed by this film, and I'm gonna give it a 3.8 out of 5. And like I said up top, do I want to watch more? Yes, I would like to follow up and watch the originals and kind of fill in the blanks. Like the way I feel is like how I would imagine someone that didn't watch Game of Thrones but watched House of the Dragon. Like they're in a better position because they know the origins, and now they can watch Game of Thrones and be like, oh, I already know this. I know about this, that, and the other. So now I feel like I have the knowledge with the prequel, and I can go into the originals and understand things more than someone that might have seen it for the first time. So I'm going to go back and watch them. And also, I would be invested in seeing more prequels with Viola Davis character and Snow, and maybe even getting a Viola Davis prequel because she's a great villain in this film. So I would like to see more from this franchise because, like I said, I had a good time, and that's why I gave it a 3.8 out of 5. But hey, that's my thoughts on the film. I want to know yours once you've seen it, the good, the bad, the ugly, the pros, the cons, and again, where does this rank amongst the other ones? Of course, if you've seen it, and also if you read the book, does it compare to the book as well? So let's have those conversations in the comments below. Thank you all for watching today's review. Just a reminder, if you enjoyed yourself, to hit the thumbs up, share this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and of course, consider subscribing to the channel. You all are awesome. Hope you're staying safe, and I'll catch you all on the next video. Yeah.